Now you consultant as well now. Let's crystal ball. What's going to happen on election day from your perspective?
Yeah, I think first of all, and I've said this many times, and and I think everybody's starting to buy in that the polls are wrong. I mean, all of them. Even the polls that kind of say Trump may be ahead in certain states, and here's why: because all the polls are based on methodologies and data that is from historical perspectives with a little guesstimate work on what might happen in 2020. And they got it really wrong in 2016 because there was a much larger segment of America that what we called the Trump factor. It's a silent Trump vote. They didn't want to admit they're voting for the president, or at that time, Donald Trump. And then they ended up doing that. I think that number is even bigger in 2020. It's funny I think about the last week, I've heard now that there's a secret Joe Biden vote. And so I'm interested to see if that really exists, or if that's, some, last minute political spin. But, in terms of crystal balling it, I'd say, if the voters come out with the intensity that I've seen, and this is a big point that people don't understand. Zenny, I can pull you 100 times over a 3-month period, and you can tell me, you're going to vote for Joe Biden or Donald Trump every single one of those times. But if you actually don't get up and wake up and get out of your bed and go vote, doesn't matter. And that's unfortunately what you have with the polls a lot of times. That's why we separate them into likely voters or definite voters. But even the definite voters, I'm sick, or my mom's sick, or my dad's, injured, or whatever it is, it prevents them from voting. So the election day voting is critical. And I think given the historic highs that we've seen, it's going to be very close. If the Republicans get out and vote on election day, then Donald Trump wins. If they don't get their votes out, then he's not going to win. And so I think it's important, the Republican Party has been doing this, and the Trump campaign certainly is getting those votes out. But right now, I do believe, based on the silent Trump vote and the voter intensity, the enthusiasm, a lot of Donald Trump support is organic. It's not something that was mustered by the campaign or the RNC. It's people on their own. And we started this in 2016, and this is kind of the effect that it's having now. People are doing their own boat parades, or their own, walking parades, for Donald Trump, or their own drive-ins, whether it's even disrupting Joe Biden's drive-in. It's all on their own. The campaign's not doing that. They don't have the resources to. And so that's the organic growth that you're seeing. If that holds on election day, Donald Trump wins, but they got to get the vote out. Otherwise, he's not.
What are your thoughts regarding all these early voting lines? I mean, they're huge.
It's massive. And here again, this is a perfect example, right? So if you go in and the Election Project, Michael McDonald's done a fantastic job of collecting all this data. But you got to be careful, right? Everybody can use data the way they want to spin it. So if you just, to be objective and give your viewers, your listeners, the idea. So if you look at a state, like let's take, let's start globally, right? Let's start nationally. So we have a little over 90 million ballots, mail-in ballots that were requested across the United States. Okay. Now, 30 million of those were requested from California, Oregon, and Washington. So 1/3 of the mail-in ballots are in the 3 states that Donald Trump probably doesn't have, a prayer of winning. Okay. That matters. So if somebody says, oh, there's 90 million mail-in ballots, the Democrats are surely going to win. You can't look at it that way. Now let's take it and be more specific. Take a state like North Carolina. So you have early in-person voting, and then you have the mail-in and the absentee ballots again. So they do it by party registration. So then what they do is when a ballot's sent out to you, it's sent on your previous party registration affiliation. So you could say Democrats in North Carolina, there's 1 million, Republicans, there's 850,000. That doesn't mean 1 million Democrats are going to vote for Biden any more than it means 850,000 Republicans are going to vote for Donald Trump. And so people are looking at these numbers and saying, oh, the Dems have more ballots out. That may be true, but nobody to this point in time knows who they voted for. And that's the anomaly in this. And I think what I would caution people on, just because you see, early lines that are long, to your point, the great news is that means more people are getting out to vote. But at the end of the day, we don't know how those people are voting, or if they're even voting for a third candidate. I mean, we still got some third candidates out there, that could cause a little controversy in a couple of states, depending on how the state goes, the vote goes. And then also another element to look at is the rejected ballots. I'm watching this very carefully because there are a lot of rejected ballots in these states, and they're starting to add up. And I mean, to more than like 10,000. So if you're in a state like I said, Wisconsin, where you lose by 10,000, then you're going to start wondering if those rejected ballots are really rejected and whether or not they can be counted. So there's all kinds of dynamics here that are still at play. if any pollster or anybody is telling you, you know, they've got the magic ball or anything, there's too many things that can still happen that will impact the election. And that's what people are not seeing, you know, fully yet. And I think they will as we get closer.